All right, let's dive into the science behind nutrition and healthy eating today.
Sounds great.
We're going to be looking at some really cool resources from the Open University's Open Learn platform,
Yeah.
specifically their course on the science of nutrition and healthy eating.
Awesome.
So get ready to explore like the biology, the
Yeah.
chemistry, and even like the psychology of what we eat.
I think it's really interesting because it's more than just knowing what to eat.
Right.
It's understanding why those choices matter, and this course really digs into that,
Yeah.
making you like a more informed and empowered eater.
I love that, informed and empowered.
Yeah.
So we'll be covering everything from like how your digestive system works to decoding food labels, which can be so confusing. We'll even be tackling some global dietary advice and looking at how our minds play a role in our eating habits.
Yeah, and what I find fascinating
Yeah.
is that even the simple question of why do we eat
Right.
goes way beyond just enjoying a good meal.
Yeah.
It's a really complex interplay of hormones and biological processes.
Okay, so let's start there. Why do we eat?
Yeah,
Beyond, the obvious deliciousness factor.
sure.
I remember after a really intense workout,
Yeah,
I'm absolutely ravenous.
Right.
Like I could eat anything that's not nailed down.
yeah.
Is that just me, or is there some science behind that feeling?
You're definitely not alone.
Okay.
There's a hormone called ghrelin, sometimes called the hunger hormone,
Okay.
and that plays a big role in that feeling.
I see.
When your stomach is empty, ghrelin levels rise, sending signals to your brain that it's time to refuel.
Okay.
And after a tough workout, your body's demanding energy.
Right.
So those ghrelin signals are probably firing like crazy.
That makes total sense. So
Yeah.
it's like my body's internal snack alarm is going off after a good sweat session.
Yeah.
But what about like what we're actually putting into our bodies?
Sure.
This course breaks down the main components of food.
Yeah.
Proteins, fats, carbs, vitamins, minerals, and fiber.
Mm.
It can feel a little overwhelming, like trying to decipher a secret code.
It can be a lot to take in,
Yeah.
but understanding these components is like having a superpower when it comes to making healthy choices.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Take proteins, for example.
Okay.
They're not just about building muscles.
Right.
They're involved in countless bodily functions,
Yeah.
from repairing tissues to transporting nutrients.
And speaking of proteins, this course mentions something called protein sequencing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm picturing scientists in lab coats
Mhm.
meticulously arranging tiny protein building blocks.
Yeah.
What's the deal with protein sequencing and why should we care?
It's pretty amazing.
Okay.
Protein sequencing allows scientists to determine the exact order of amino acids in a protein,
Okay.
kind of like figuring out the precise arrangement of beads on a necklace.
Interesting.
This information can tell us a lot about the quality and origin of our food,
Wow.
and even help us understand certain medical conditions.
Oh,
For instance, there's a condition called phenylketonuria, or PKU,
okay.
where people can't properly break down a specific amino acid.
So protein sequencing goes way beyond just figuring out what's in our food.
Yeah.
It has real-world implications for health and medicine.
Uh-huh.
It makes you realize that there's so much happening beneath the surface,
Yeah.
even with something as simple as eating a piece of chicken.
Right.
Now, what about fats?
Okay.
They seem to have a complicated reputation.
Okay.
Are they friends or foes?
Fats are essential.
Okay.
We need them for energy,
Okay.
insulation,
Okay.
and protecting our organs.
Okay.
It's more about understanding the different types of fats.
Yeah.
Some fats, like those found in avocados and olive oil, are beneficial for heart health,
I see.
while others, like saturated and trans fats found in processed foods, can be detrimental.
Got it.
It's about choosing wisely.
So it's not about fearing fat, but rather
Yeah,
understanding it better and making informed choices.
exactly.
And then there's fiber.
Okay.
I know it's important for digestion,
Cool.
but what's the big deal?
Fiber is truly the unsung hero of the digestive system. It keeps things moving smoothly,
Right.
helps us feel full and satisfied after meals,
Mm-hmm.
and can even lower cholesterol levels.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued by this whole digestion process.
Yeah.
This course gives a pretty wide description of the journey our food takes.
Ugh.
I'm a little squeamish,
Okay.
but also kind of curious.
It's a fascinating journey, trust me.
Okay.
It all starts in the mouth,
Okay.
where chewing breaks down the food
Right.
and saliva kicks off the digestive process.
Okay.
Then it travels down the esophagus,
Mm-hmm.
a muscular tube that propels food into the stomach,
Got it.
thanks to peristalsis.
Peristalsis.
Yeah.
It sounds like some kind of exotic dance move.
Right.
But really, what is it?
Imagine a wave-like motion, like a gentle squeezing,
Okay.
that pushes the food along That's peristalsis in action.
Okay.
It's the driving force that moves food through your digestive tract.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So then it reaches the stomach, which is
Okay.
where things get a little more intense. This course mentions some pretty serious acidity going on in there.
Right.
Is it really as wild as they make it sound?
The stomach is like a powerful churning machine
Okay.
with a pH level of around 2.
Wow.
That acidity is powerful stuff.
Okay.
It helps break down proteins
Okay.
and kill off any harmful bacteria that might have hitched a ride with your food.
Wow, that's incredible and kind of scary.
Yeah.
Makes you appreciate those antacids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens after the stomach's grand finale?
Well, the partially digested food,
Okay.
now called chyme, moves on to the small intestine,
Okay.
where most of the magic happens.
Okay.
I'm talking about nutrient absorption.
Right.
The small intestine is lined with these tiny, finger-like projections called villi
Okay.
that increase its surface area,
Okay.
allowing for maximum absorption of all those vitamins, minerals, and other goodies.
So it's like a super efficient absorption system.
Yeah.
And what about the liver?
Okay.
I know it's involved in processing nutrients,
Ah.
but what exactly does it do?
The liver is like the body's ultimate multitasker.
Okay.
It filters toxins,
Right.
produces bile to help digest fats,
Okay.
stores vitamins and minerals,
Uh-huh.
and plays a crucial role in regulating blood sugar levels.
It sounds like the liver deserves a medal for all its hard work.
Yeah.
So after the small intestine has done its job,
Yeah.
what's next in this epic food adventure?
Whatever isn't absorbed in the small intestine moves on to the large intestine.
Okay.
Here, water is extracted from the leftover waste,
Right.
and, well, you know the rest.
Let's just say it's the grand finale of the digestive process.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of fluids,
Yeah.
this brings us to another crucial topic, hydration.
Okay.
I know water is important,
Yeah.
but this course mentions some pretty interesting myths about hydration.
Right.
Like, does every beverage count equally towards our daily fluid intake?
That's a great question, and it's a common misconception.
Okay.
While all beverages contain fluids,
Right.
they don't all contribute equally to hydration. Some drinks, like sugary sodas or those with high caffeine content,
Yeah.
can actually have a dehydrating effect.
So my morning coffee might not be doing me as many favors as I thought.
Right.
But what about the claim that caffeine dehydrates you?
Okay.
Is that a myth or a reality?
It's a bit of both.
Oh, okay.
Well, caffeine does have a mild diuretic effect,
Yeah.
meaning it can increase urine production.
Right.
Moderate coffee consumption shouldn't significantly impact your hydration levels,
Okay.
especially if you're also drinking plenty of water.
Phew. That's a relief.
Yeah.
But what about alcohol?
Okay.
I know that can leave you feeling pretty parched the next day.
You're right. Alcohol is a diuretic,
Okay.
so it can definitely contribute to dehydration if you're not careful.
Right.
It's crucial to be mindful of your fluid intake,
Uh-huh.
especially if you're enjoying alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
Alternating alcoholic drinks with water can help mitigate the dehydrating effects.
Okay, so water is still the undisputed hydration champion.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
We don't just drink water all day.
Mhm.
We eat.
Uh-huh.
And figuring out what's actually in our food can be a bit of a mystery,
Yeah.
especially with those sometimes confusing food labels.
I totally agree.
Right.
Food labels are packed with information,
Yeah.
but it can feel like trying to decipher a secret code.
It really can.
This course does a great job of breaking down the key elements.
So with a little guidance,
Yeah.
we can finally crack the code
Uh-huh.
and understand what all those percentages, grams, and
Mhm.
cryptic terms actually mean.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll delve into things like reference intakes,
Okay.
the recommended daily amounts of different nutrients,
Right.
and the traffic light system,
Okay.
which gives you a quick visual guide to the levels of fat, sugar, and salt in a product.
That sounds incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
I always feel a little lost in the supermarket aisles, trying to
Right.
make sense of it all.
Once you understand the basics,
Yeah.
you'll be able to confidently navigate those labels and make informed choices that align with your dietary goals.
And speaking of dietary goals,
Yeah.
let's talk about energy.
Okay.
The course mentions calories and joules.
Right?
Are these just different ways of measuring the same thing?
You're right. They are both units of energy,
Okay.
but they're slightly different.
Okay.
A calorie with a lowercase c
Okay.
is the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius.
Okay.
A calorie with an uppercase c, which is what we usually see on food labels,
Right.
is actually a kilocalorie, equal to 1,000 calories.
So those calories on food labels are actually kilocalories.
Exactly.
That's good to know. It's like the food industry's little secret.
It is.
And how do different food groups contribute to our energy intake?
Oh.
Is a calorie from a carrot the same as a calorie from a cookie?
That's another great question.
Okay.
While all calories provide energy, they're not all created equal. Different food groups provide different amounts of energy per gram.
Got it.
For example, carbohydrates and proteins provide about 4 calories per gram,
Okay.
while fats provide about 9 calories per gram.
So that's why fatty foods tend to be higher in calories?
Yeah.
But they're not all bad, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the importance of healthy fats earlier.
Exactly. It's about finding a balance.
Right.
And choosing nutrient-rich foods that provide the energy and nutrients our bodies need.
And what about sweeteners?
Okay.
They add that touch of sweetness, but do they contribute to our energy intake?
Sure.
There's so many different kinds these days.
The impact of sweeteners on energy intake really depends on the type of sweetener.
Okay.
Natural sugars like those found in fruits and honey provide calories along with other nutrients.
Right.
Then there are artificial sweeteners,
Okay.
which are designed to provide sweetness without the calories.
That sounds great in theory, but are artificial sweeteners safe?
It's a complex topic.
Yeah.
Regulatory agencies generally consider artificial sweeteners safe for consumption within recommended limits.
Okay.
However, there's ongoing research about their potential long-term health effects.
I see.
For instance, a recent study published in the journal Nature Medicine suggested a possible link between the artificial sweetener erythritol and an increased risk of heart attack and stroke.
Wow. That's pretty significant.
It is.
It sounds like the jury's still out on artificial sweeteners.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to be aware of.
Right.
And perhaps do a little more research on before making a decision about what's right for you.
I agree.
When it comes to health and nutrition, it's always best to stay informed and make choices that feel right for your individual needs and preferences.
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a quick trip around the globe.
Okay.
This course dives into global dietary approaches, comparing recommendations from different countries. It's fascinating to see how cultural and geographical factors influence what people eat.
Absolutely.
One example is the Eat Well Guide from the UK, which visually shows how to build a balanced diet. Then there's the Mediterranean diet, which emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, olive oil, and fish. We often hear about aiming for 5 a day when it comes to fruits and vegetables. But is that truly enough?
Okay.
Or should we be aiming for even more?
Right.
Some experts are saying 7 or even 10 servings a day.
That's a great question, and one that sparked a lot of debate among researchers.
Right.
While 5 servings is a great starting point, there's increasing evidence to suggest that the benefits of fruits and vegetables may continue to increase with higher intakes.
Okay.
Some studies indicate that aiming for 7 to 10 servings daily may offer even greater protection against chronic diseases.
So it seems like the more the merrier might apply to fruits and veggies, but it's all about finding what works best for you and your lifestyle.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that individual needs vary.
Right.
Someone with specific dietary requirements, like those following a vegetarian or a vegan diet, will need to carefully consider their nutrient intake.
Speaking of specific diets, this course also touches on the challenges of malnutrition, which many people associate solely with undernutrition. However, it's important to recognize that overnutrition, often in the form of obesity, is also a significant global health concern.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Malnutrition encompasses both ends of the spectrum.
Right.
And the global obesity epidemic is a complex issue with far-reaching consequences.
Yeah.
Driven by factors like access to processed foods, sedentary lifestyles, and genetic predispositions.
It's a reminder that our health is influenced not just by our individual choices, but also by the environments we live in and the systems that shape those environments.
And it highlights the need for multifaceted approaches to address these complex issues.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that can be quite frightening for some people. Food allergies.
Right.
This course does a great job of clarifying the difference between food allergies, which involve the immune system, and food intolerances, which are non-immune reactions.
It's a crucial distinction to make.
It is.
A food allergy triggers a rapid and potentially life-threatening immune response, known as anaphylaxis. This can manifest as difficulty breathing,
Right.
swelling of the face and throat, a drop in blood pressure,
Okay.
and even loss of consciousness.
Wow.
It's a serious medical emergency that requires immediate attention.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
What about food intolerances?
Okay.
While they're not life-threatening, they
Right.
can still cause significant discomfort.
Absolutely. Food intolerances are often related to digestive issues and typically involve a delayed reaction.
Okay.
For example, lactose intolerance
Right.
occurs when someone lacks the enzyme lactase,
Okay.
which is needed to break down the sugar lactose
Right.
found in dairy products.
Yeah.
It can lead to bloating, gas, and diarrhea,
Uh-huh.
but is not a life-threatening condition.
So it's not an immune response like an allergy,
Right?
but rather a lack of a specific enzyme.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Are there specific tests
Yeah.
to diagnose food allergies and intolerances?
Yes, there are various tests available to help pinpoint these issues.
Okay.
Skin prick tests and blood tests can help identify specific allergens,
Got it.
while elimination diets can often pinpoint food intolerances.
That's great to know. It's empowering to have tools that can help people navigate these challenges and manage their dietary needs effectively.
Early diagnosis and appropriate management can significantly improve quality of life for those with food allergies or intolerances.
Now let's dive into a topic that's near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
This course explores the science of taste perception
Yeah.
and how our senses play a role in our food choices.
Right.
I know I'm a sucker for anything with a good crunch.
It's fascinating how our senses work together to create the experience of taste.
Okay.
We have 5 basic tastes.
Okay.
Sweet,
Yeah.
sour, salty,
Okay.
bitter,
Yeah.
and umami,
Okay.
which is often described as a savory or meaty taste.
Umami is so interesting to me. I've heard it called the fifth taste,
Yeah.
but I still don't fully understand it. What exactly is umami
Okay.
and what kinds of foods trigger that taste?
Think of the rich, savory flavor of a ripe tomato
Okay.
or a perfectly aged cheese.
Okay.
That's umami.
All right.
It's triggered by certain amino acids like glutamate,
Okay.
naturally found in foods like tomatoes,
No.
mushrooms, and seaweed.
So it's not just a flavor enhancer.
Right.
It's a distinct taste in its own right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it plays a crucial role in creating those deeply satisfying, savory flavors we crave.
And how do our senses influence our food choices beyond just taste?
Yeah.
I know I eat with my eyes first.
Sure.
A beautifully plated dish just seems to taste better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our sense of sight plays a huge role
Yeah.
in how we perceive and enjoy food.
Okay.
Colors, textures, and even the arrangement of a dish
Right.
can influence our appetite and enjoyment.
Like food is a multi-sensory experience.
And sleazy.
And let's not forget about the sense of smell.
Yeah.
In fact, much of what we perceive as taste is actually due to our sense of smell.
Right.
When we eat, aromas from the food travel up into our nasal cavity,
Yeah.
contributing to the overall flavor experience.
Yeah.
That explains why food tastes so bland when I have a cold.
Yeah.
It's like all the flavor has been sucked out. What about texture?
Okay.
Does that influence our food preferences as well?
Texture is crucial.
Okay.
Think about the satisfying crunch of a fresh apple or the smooth, creamy texture of yogurt.
I love that.
These tactile sensations play a big role in our enjoyment of food.
I definitely crave those crunchy textures.
Yeah.
So it's not just about what our taste buds detect. It's about the whole sensory experience, right?
Exactly.
And our individual preferences
Yeah.
are shaped by a combination of genetics, cultural influences, and personal experiences.
Yeah.
Speaking of influences,
Okay.
this course delves into the psychological factors that affect eating behavior,
Right.
including things like hunger and satiety signals, emotional eating,
Yeah.
and social and cultural influences.
Sure.
It's fascinating how complex our relationship with food can be.
It's not just about satisfying physical hunger.
Right.
It's also about emotions.
Yeah.
Social connections and cultural norms.
So sometimes we eat because we're truly hungry.
Yeah.
And other times we eat for reasons that have nothing to do with physical hunger.
Exactly.
Right.
We might reach for a comforting bowl of pasta after a tough day,
Yeah.
even if we're not physically hungry.
Right.
Or we might indulge in a slice of cake at a birthday party
No.
because it's a social tradition,
Yeah.
even if we're already full.
It's a reminder that food is more than just fuel.
Right.
It's also about comfort, celebration, and connection.
Yeah.
And sometimes these emotional and social factors can lead to overeating
Right.
or making less healthy choices.
That's why it's important to develop a mindful awareness of our eating habits.
Yeah.
By paying attention to our body's hunger cues and understanding the psychological factors
Right.
that influence our food choices.
Yeah.
We can make more conscious and informed decisions about what we eat.
Well said. And for some people,
Yeah.
this complex relationship with food can lead to disordered eating patterns.
Right.
This course briefly touches on eating disorders, highlighting the serious health consequences associated with these conditions.
It's important to remember that eating disorders are complex mental illnesses that require professional intervention.
Absolutely.
They're not about vanity or fad dieting.
Right.
They're serious conditions that can have life-threatening consequences.
It's crucial to raise awareness about eating disorders and encourage anyone struggling with these issues to seek help. There are resources available and recovery is possible.
Absolutely. Early intervention is key.
Yeah.
And there are effective treatments available to support individuals on their journey to recovery.
Now let's talk about putting all of this newfound knowledge into practice.
Okay.
What are some practical tips for making healthier choices?
Sure.
And applying the principles we've discussed today?
All right.
I'm feeling inspired to make some changes.
One simple but powerful tool is keeping a food diary for a day.
Okay.
It can be an eye-opening experience to track what you actually eat and drink throughout the day.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
I think I'd be surprised by how much coffee I actually drink. But seriously, that sounds like a great way to become more mindful of our eating habits and identify areas where we might want to make changes.
Exactly. And it's not about striving for perfection or making drastic changes overnight.
Right.
It's about setting small, achievable goals that you can build upon over time.
So maybe start by swapping sugary drinks for water more often or adding an extra serving of vegetables to your meals.
Yeah.
Small changes can add up to big results over time.
Absolutely. And remember, it's about finding what works for you and your individual needs and preferences.
Right.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to healthy eating.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
Yeah, it has.
We've covered so much ground from the inner workings of our digestive systems to the psychology behind our food choices.
And we've only just begun.
I know, it's a lot.
But hopefully you're already feeling more empowered to make informed decisions about your own health and well-being.
I know, I am. What about you?
Yeah, definitely.
What's resonating with you most from our discussion so far?
For me, it's the reminder that food is so much more than just fuel.
Oh, wow.
It's about nourishment, enjoyment, and connection.
Okay.
And when we approach food with curiosity and mindfulness, we can develop a healthier and more fulfilling relationship with what we eat.
Beautifully said. Now, before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, let's pause for a moment and let our listeners digest all this incredible information.
Sounds good. You know, one thing that really stood out to me from the first part of our deep dive is how crucial it is to be aware of the difference between food allergies and intolerances.
Yeah, me too. I think a lot of people get those two mixed up.
Right.
The course mentioned that a food allergy can be life-threatening.
Yeah.
Which is pretty serious stuff.
Exactly. A food allergy involves the immune system.
Okay.
And it can trigger a rapid and potentially fatal reaction called anaphylaxis.
Whoa, anaphylaxis. That sounds scary.
It is.
What exactly happens during an anaphylactic reaction?
Yeah.
Is it like your throat closing up like in the movies?
It can be a lot like that.
Oh, wow.
Anaphylaxis is essentially the body overreacting to a substance it perceives as harmful.
Okay.
It triggers this cascade of events.
Right.
Including the release of histamine, which can cause a range of symptoms.
Right.
Difficulty breathing, swelling, a drop in blood pressure.
Oh, gosh.
It can be pretty intense.
Yikes. It's definitely nothing to mess around with.
Yeah.
So if someone is experiencing anaphylaxis,
right.
It sounds like immediate medical attention is crucial.
Absolutely. It's a medical emergency.
Okay.
That needs to be treated right away with epinephrine.
Right.
Usually via an EpiPen.
Got it.
And then longer term, identifying and avoiding the trigger foods is key.
That makes sense. And what about food intolerances?
Okay.
The course explained that those aren't as severe,
yeah,
but they can still be pretty uncomfortable.
Right. Food intolerances don't involve the immune system in the same way.
Okay.
They're typically related to problems digesting certain foods.
Right.
And the reactions are usually delayed and less severe.
Like lactose intolerance, right? That seems to be pretty common.
Exactly. People with lactose intolerance lack the enzyme lactase,
right,
which is needed to break down the sugar lactose found in dairy products.
Yeah.
This can lead to bloating, gas, and other digestive discomforts.
No, it's not a dangerous condition.
Right.
But it can certainly affect your quality of life. Are there ways to manage lactose intolerance?
Absolutely. There are lactase enzyme supplements available that can help people digest dairy products. And there are also plenty of lactose-free alternatives on the market these days.
It's amazing how far food science has come.
It really is.
There are options for just about everyone.
Yeah.
Now, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Okay.
The psychology of eating.
Right.
This course really emphasizes how our minds play a role in what we eat. I know I'm guilty of stress. Eating a bag of chips just seems to call my name when I'm feeling overwhelmed.
You're not alone. Emotional eating is very common. We often use food to cope with stress, boredom, loneliness, all sorts of emotions.
It's like food becomes a comfort blanket, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is it doesn't really solve the underlying issue.
Exactly. It might provide temporary relief,
Okay.
but it can also lead to overeating and unhealthy choices.
And what about social and cultural influences?
Okay.
I know certain foods are associated with specific celebrations or holidays. Like, I can't imagine Thanksgiving without pumpkin pie.
Food plays a huge role in our social and cultural traditions.
It does.
It brings people together, creates memories, and reinforces a sense of belonging.
Right.
But sometimes those cultural norms can conflict with our health goals.
So it's about finding a balance, right?
Yeah.
Honoring those traditions, but also making choices that align with our personal well-being.
Exactly. It's about being mindful and making informed decisions.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes that might mean making small adjustments to those traditional recipes or finding healthier alternatives.
Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about those global dietary approaches again. The course mentions the Eat Well diet, which is used here in the UK.
Right.
But what about other countries?
Okay.
Do they have different dietary recommendations?
Absolutely. Different cultures have different dietary traditions and recommendations.
Okay.
For example, the Mediterranean diet, which is popular in countries like Greece, Italy, and Spain, emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, olive oil, and fish.
Okay.
It's been linked to a lower risk of heart disease and other chronic illnesses.
That sounds delicious and healthy.
Yeah.
I'm already picturing myself enjoying a plate of fresh seafood and vegetables by the Mediterranean Sea.
Sounds nice.
Are there any other interesting global dietary approaches out there?
There are so many.
Okay.
The Nordic diet,
Okay.
which is popular in Scandinavian countries,
Right.
emphasizes whole grains, berries, fish, and root vegetables.
Okay.
And in Japan, the traditional diet is rich in seafood, rice vegetables, and fermented foods like miso and tofu.
It's amazing how diverse dietary approaches can be around the world.
Yeah, it is.
But there seems to be a common thread running through many of them.
You're right. Many traditional diets emphasize whole, unprocessed foods.
Okay.
Plenty of fruits and vegetables.
Right.
And healthy fats.
Got it.
These are principles that can benefit everyone, regardless of their cultural background.
It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest approaches are the best.
Ah.
So we've talked about different dietary approaches.
Yeah.
But what about specific dietary needs?
Okay.
What if you're vegetarian or vegan?
All right.
Does this course offer any insights into those types of diets?
It absolutely does.
Okay.
The course covers vegetarianism and veganism, highlighting the importance of careful planning to ensure adequate nutrient intake.
That makes sense. If you're not eating certain food groups,
Right.
you need to be mindful of getting those nutrients from other sources.
Exactly. For example, vegetarians and vegans need to pay attention to their intake of vitamin B12, which is primarily found in animal products. They may need to take supplements or consume fortified foods to meet their needs.
So it's all about being informed and making conscious choices regardless of your dietary preferences. Now we've touched on malnutrition as a global issue.
Right.
The course mentions the Global Nutrition Report.
Yeah.
What is that exactly, and why is it important?
The Global Nutrition Report is an annual independent assessment of the state of global nutrition.
Okay.
It provides a comprehensive overview of progress and challenges related to malnutrition in all its forms.
So it's like a global report card on how we're doing when it comes to nourishing our populations?
You could say that.
Okay.
It highlights areas where we're making progress,
Right.
but also areas where we need to step up our efforts.
Okay.
For example, the report has shown that while we've made some gains in reducing childhood stunting, we're still facing a global obesity epidemic.
It's a reminder that malnutrition is a complex issue with multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
It's not just about hunger.
Right.
It's also about the quality of our food.
And how our environments and lifestyles influence our food choices.
Precisely. And addressing these challenges requires a multifaceted approach involving governments, healthcare professionals, educators and individuals.
We all have a role to play in creating a healthier and more nourished world.
We do.
Now, I want to loop back to something we talked about earlier.
Okay.
Sweeteners.
Right.
We discussed the difference between natural sugars and artificial sweeteners, and how there's some debate about the safety of artificial sweeteners.
Right.
Is there anything else we should be aware of when it comes to these sweet substances?
One interesting thing to consider is the impact of sweeteners on our gut microbiome,
Okay.
which is the collection of trillions of bacteria that live in our digestive tracts.
The gut microbiome, that's a hot topic these days.
It is.
What's the connection between sweeteners and gut health?
Research suggests that artificial sweeteners may disrupt the balance of bacteria in our guts.
Okay.
Its imbalance can potentially lead to a range of health issues.
Right. Including inflammation, metabolic problems, and even an increased risk of certain diseases.
Wow, that's a whole other layer to consider.
Yeah.
So even if a sweetener doesn't have calories, it could still be impacting our health in other ways.
That's the emerging thinking. Yes.
Okay.
And it highlights the importance of being mindful of all the ingredients we're consuming.
Right.
Not just focusing on calories.
It's like our bodies are these complex ecosystems. And everything we put into them has the potential to affect that delicate balance. So it's not just about what we eat, but also about how those foods interact with our unique internal environment.
Exactly. And there's still so much we're learning about the gut microbiome and its role in health.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating area of research that's continually evolving.
Well, I don't know about you, but my brain is feeling a little full from all this amazing information.
I hear you.
Let's take a short break and then come back for the final part of our deep dive into the science of nutrition and healthy eating. It feels like we've been on this incredible culinary journey exploring the world of food and nutrition.
It has been quite a deep dive, hasn't it?
From the tiny taste buds to the vast global food systems, we've covered so much ground.
Yeah, and I think what's really fascinating is how it all ties together. You know?
It really does, doesn't it?
It's not just about what we eat, it's about the environment, our emotions, even our gut health.
It's like everything's interconnected when it comes to nutrition.
Exactly.
Now, one thing that really stuck with me from this course is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to healthy eating.
Oh, absolutely. What works for one person might not work for another, and that's perfectly okay.
It's about finding what works for you and your body.
It's about listening to your own body, experimenting with different foods, and just finding what makes you feel your best.
You know, sometimes I think we get so caught up in all the rules of healthy eating that we forget to actually enjoy the experience of eating.
That's so true. You know, food is meant to be enjoyed.
It is.
It's about finding that balance between nourishment and pleasure.
I love that nourishment meets pleasure.
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there who are feeling inspired, what are some practical tips for actually putting this information into action?
Well, I think one of the simplest things you can do is to start crowding out less healthy foods with more nutrient-rich options.
So instead of focusing on what we shouldn't eat, we focus on adding more of the good stuff.
Yes, focus on adding more fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fats.
It's like a positive approach to healthy eating.
I like that, yeah.
It's about abundance, not deprivation.
Absolutely. And it can be as simple as, you know, swapping your sugary cereal for a bowl of oatmeal with berries, or adding a side salad to your lunch.
Little changes can make a big difference.
Exactly. Small changes over time add up.
And what about meal planning? I always find if I don't have a plan, I end up just grabbing whatever is quickest.
Yeah, meal planning can be a game changer.
Okay.
It does take a little effort, but I think it saves so much time and stress during the week.
That makes sense.
And it helps you to make more conscious decisions about the food that you're eating.
So maybe spend a little time on the weekend planning out meals, prepping some ingredients.
That's a great idea.
Having some healthy snacks ready to go.
And don't be afraid to have fun with it, too.
Yeah.
You know, get creative in the kitchen. Try new recipes. Involve family or friends.
Making it a social activity.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Cooking and eating together can be so enjoyable.
I love that. It's not just about fueling our bodies. It's about nourishing our souls and connecting with others.
Well said.
Well, we have covered an incredible amount of information in this deep dive.
Yep.
We've explored everything from the science of digestion to the psychology of eating. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling quite inspired.
Me too.
Any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
You know, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that knowledge is power. The more you understand about your body and how food interacts with your system, the more empowered you'll be to make choices that really support your well-being.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. If you're feeling inspired to learn more, be sure to check out the Open University's full course, The Science of Nutrition and Healthy Eating, on their Open Learn platform. It's packed with even more fascinating information and practical guidance to help you on your journey to a healthier and happier you. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the science of nutrition and healthy eating.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have. Remember, every bite is an opportunity to nourish your body and fuel your life, so go forth and make choices that make you feel good inside and out. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay well nourished.